Have you checked your pocket lately? Because one tiny Mercury dime could be hiding a silent fortune that most people spend without a second thought. Nobody talks about these coins, yet collectors are fighting over them in high-stakes auctions for unbelievable amounts of money. We're counting down the top 4 most valuable and ultra-rare Mercury dimes, and every coin on this list gets rarer, scarier, and more valuable than the last. This is real auction shock, hidden wealth hiding in plain sight, and some of these coins have changed lives overnight. So before you spend another dime, check your pocket now and pay very close attention. Do not spend these coins. What you're about to see could be the difference between loose change and a life-changing opportunity. Stay with us until the end, because the final coin is almost impossible to find and worth an amount that most people would never believe. Coin number 1. The moment most people see this 1918s Mercury dime, they make a terrible mistake. They glance at the dark spots, notice the gray layers covering the surface, and assume it's just an old, worn-out coin. Then they spend it. And that's exactly why this coin is so dangerous to ignore. Hidden beneath that aged appearance could be a silent fortune worth as much as $386,000 in today's auction market. This is not fiction. This is the kind of hidden wealth that disappears every day because people never stop long enough to look closely. The year 1918 was one of the most dramatic periods in American history. The United States was still dealing with the enormous pressures of World War I. Factories were operating at intense levels, resources were being stretched, and the nation's economy was adapting to wartime demands. During periods like these, coin production often faced enormous pressure. Mint workers were focused on meeting production goals, and every coin struck during this era became a small piece of a nation under stress. That historical backdrop is one reason collectors become obsessed with surviving examples from this period. This particular Mercury dime was struck at the San Francisco Mint, identified by the small S Mint mark on the reverse side. That tiny letter changes everything. Collectors know that mint marks often separate common coins from serious treasures, and the 1918S has earned a reputation for attracting intense attention whenever a strong example appears on the market. Look closely at the obverse or front side, and you'll see the famous portrait often mistaken for the Roman god Mercury. The design actually represents liberty wearing a winged cap, symbolizing freedom of thought. Around the portrait are the inscriptions Liberty, the date 1918, and the national motto, In God We Trust. Even after more than a century, these details continue to fascinate collectors who appreciate classic American coin artistry. Turn the coin over, and the reverse tells an equally impressive story. A fasces stands proudly in the center, symbolizing strength and unity. Alongside it is an olive branch representing peace. The inscriptions include United States of America, One Dime, and E Pluribus Unum. Every element was carefully designed to reflect the ideals of a nation facing enormous challenges. What makes this coin feel special in the hand is its historic silver composition. The 1918S Mercury dime was struck from 90% silver and 10% copper. It weighs approximately 2.5 grams, measures 17.9 millimeters in diameter, has a thickness of about 1.35 millimeters, and a circumference or girth of roughly 56.2 millimeters. These numbers may sound small, but together they created one of the most iconic coins in American history. Now here is where things become even more interesting. Many surviving examples experience decades of circulation. They passed through countless hands, cash registers, pockets, and piggy banks. Every year reduced the number of high-quality survivors. Some were melted for silver, others were damaged, lost, or cleaned. That shrinking population is one reason collectors compete so aggressively whenever a desirable example reaches auction. And don't overlook those black dots and grey layers. Most people see discoloration. Experienced collectors often see originality. Natural toning can develop over decades and acts almost like a fingerprint of the coin's journey through history. Original surfaces matter. Original toning matters. If you ever discover a coin like this, never clean the coin. Cleaning destroys value forever because it removes the very surfaces collectors want to see. Auction rooms become surprisingly intense when an attractive 1918s Mercury Dime appears. Bidding often starts quietly. Then collectors begin noticing the details they love: strong lettering, honest wear patterns, original surfaces, and that important San Francisco mint mark. Suddenly, the competition becomes aggressive. Many buyers aren't looking for a quick profit. They're trying to secure a piece of history that becomes harder to find every year. That's why demand continues rising while supply keeps shrinking. Serious collectors know they cannot simply create more 1918s Mercury Dimes. Every surviving example represents a limited opportunity. In very fine condition, with its distinctive dark appearance and strong collector appeal, examples connected to extraordinary market demand have reached astonishing values, approaching $386,000. That's serious money hiding inside a coin most people would overlook. If you're searching through old collections, check the date first. Then inspect the mint mark carefully. Never polish the surface. Never scrub away dirt or toning. Store the coins safely and seek professional grading, because professional grading is critical when determining authenticity, condition, and market value. Patience creates wealth in coin collecting, and rushing to clean or sell a rare coin can become an expensive mistake. Most people miss this. A tiny silver coin from 1918 can still hold a life-changing opportunity more than a century later. So remember one thing above all else: do not spend this coin. And if you think this Mercury Dime is impressive, wait until you see the next coin on our list. What comes next is even rarer, even more shocking, and carries a story so unbelievable that many collectors spend years searching for just one example. Next up, a lot of valuable coins announce themselves with bright silver shine and eye-catching beauty. This one doesn't. In fact, that's exactly why so many people lose it. The 1926s Mercury Dime often hides behind scratches, dark surfaces, and years of wear, quietly waiting for someone to recognize what it really is. Most people see an old dime. Collectors see a disappearing treasure. And with auction values reaching an astonishing $372,000, ignoring this coin could be one of the most expensive mistakes a collector ever makes. The story of the 1926s Mercury Dime begins during one of America's most fascinating decades. The Roaring Twenties were in full swing. Cities were expanding, industries were growing, and people were spending money faster than ever before. But beneath that economic excitement, certain coin issues were being produced in numbers that would later create major scarcity. The San Francisco Mint struck far fewer Mercury Dimes than some other facilities, and decades later, that difference became incredibly important. This is where the small S mint mark becomes the center of attention. Hidden on the reverse side near the bottom of the coin, that single letter has created endless collector obsession. Many people never notice it. Experienced collectors check for it immediately. That tiny mint mark separates an ordinary-looking dime from a coin that can trigger fierce competition whenever one appears at auction. Take a close look at the obverse side. Liberty faces left, wearing the famous winged cap that symbolizes freedom of thought. The word liberty stretches around the design, while "In God We Trust" appears near the lower area beside the date 1926. Even with front-side scratches, collectors often study every remaining detail carefully. They know that originality matters more than perfection. Those marks tell part of the coin's journey through American history. Flip the coin over, and the reverse reveals one of the most admired designs in U.S. coinage. The facet stands proudly in the center, symbolizing strength through unity, while the olive branch represents peace. Surrounding these elements are the inscriptions: United States of America, E pluribus unum, and 1 dime. The design feels powerful, balanced, and unmistakably American. What surprises many new collectors is how much history fits into such a small piece of metal. The 1926 Mercury Dime was struck from an alloy containing 90% silver and 10% copper. It weighs approximately 2.5 grams, measures 17.9 millimeters across in diameter, has a thickness of roughly 1.35 millimeters, and a circumference or girth of about 56.2 millimeters. Small enough to disappear into a pocket, yet valuable enough to completely change someone's day. Now here's the detail that changes everything. Many surviving examples from this date spent decades circulating through stores, banks, and cash registers. Every year reduced the number of attractive survivors. Coins were damaged, lost, melted, or carelessly cleaned. As the population shrank, collector demand continued growing. That's exactly how hidden wealth is created. The black wave-like toning seen on some examples is especially fascinating. To the average person, it may look unattractive. To serious collectors, natural dark toning can be a sign that the coin has remained untouched for decades. Original surfaces create confidence. Original toning tells a story. Never underestimate how much collectors appreciate authenticity. This is why one warning must always be taken seriously: never clean the coin. Cleaning can permanently destroy the original surface and dramatically reduce its value. Another factor driving demand is survival in attractive condition. Very fine examples still display important design details while preserving the historic character collectors love. Every surviving piece becomes a time capsule from the 1920s. That emotional connection is difficult to measure, but it plays a major role in auction results. When a desirable 1926 Mercury Dime reaches a major auction, something remarkable often happens. Bidding may begin slowly. Then collectors start examining the surfaces, checking the mint mark, studying the strike quality, and evaluating the originality. Suddenly, the room becomes competitive. Quiet bidders become aggressive. Offers climb rapidly because everyone understands the same thing. Opportunities to acquire strong examples are becoming increasingly rare. Today, collector demand remains strong, while available supply continues shrinking. Many long-term collectors hold their best Mercury Dimes tightly and refuse to sell. Every coin locked away in a collection means one less coin available to the market. That imbalance continues pushing attention towards scarce dates like the 1926s. If you ever find one, check the date first. Then verify the S mint mark. Examine the surfaces carefully and resist every temptation to improve its appearance. Do not spend this coin. Do not polish it. Do not clean it. Professional grading is critical because accurate authentication and condition assessment can have a major impact on value. The collectors who create wealth in this hobby are usually the ones who exercise patience rather than rushing decisions. This is not fiction. A small silver dime carrying scratches, dark waves, and nearly a century of history can represent serious money. It can represent hidden wealth. It can represent a silent fortune sitting unnoticed inside an old collection or forgotten coin jar. And every day, people accidentally lose opportunities like this because they never look closely enough. But don't go anywhere yet, because the next Mercury Dime on our countdown is even more dangerous to ignore. Its rarity has stunned collectors for decades, its demand is relentless, and the shocking story behind its value makes this coin look almost easy to find. Next up, imagine opening an old coin album, turning a dusty page, and discovering a Mercury Dime that looks ordinary at first glance, but is actually worth more than many people's homes. That is exactly the kind of shock the 1927S Mercury Dime creates. This coin doesn't scream for attention. It hides behind age, dark surfaces, and tiny details that most people never notice. Yet collectors know something the average person doesn't. This coin can represent a silent fortune. And every year, more of these treasures disappear into private collections, making the surviving examples even harder to find. The year 1927 was a fascinating moment in American history. The nation was enjoying the final years of the Roaring Twenties. Businesses were expanding, stock markets were attracting investors, and optimism seemed to be everywhere. But while the country appeared prosperous on the surface, certain coin issues were being produced in quantities that would later become highly desirable to collectors. The San Francisco Mint created Mercury Dimes that would eventually become some of the most sought-after pieces in the entire series. This is where the story becomes serious. The small S mint mark on a Mercury Dime may look insignificant, but for collectors, it changes everything. One tiny letter can transform a forgotten dime into hidden wealth. Most people never inspect mint marks before spending coins. That's why opportunities like this are accidentally lost every day. Stay till the end, because one tiny detail on this coin explains why collectors fight so hard to own it. The obverse side displays the famous portrait often called Mercury, although it actually represents Liberty wearing a winged cap. The wings symbolize freedom of thought, a powerful message for the era. Around the design appears the word Liberty, while the date 1927 sits prominently below. The national motto, "In God We Trust," completes the design. On an uncirculated example, the sharpness of these details can be breathtaking. Collectors examine every strand, every contour, and every untouched surface. Turn the coin over, and the reverse reveals the classic fasces and olive branch design. The fasces symbolizes national strength and unity, while the olive branch represents peace. Encircling the design are the inscriptions: United States of America, One Dime, and E Pluribus Unum. These details may seem routine, but on an uncirculated coin, they become a showcase of artistic precision that survived nearly a century untouched. The composition of the 1927S Mercury Dime is 90% silver and 10% copper. It weighs approximately 2.5 grams, has a diameter of 17.9 millimeters, a thickness of about 1.35 millimeters, and a girth or circumference of roughly 56.2 millimeters. It feels small in the hand, yet its historical importance and collector demand make it one of the most fascinating treasures hidden within American coinage. What makes this coin especially intriguing is the condition. Many Mercury Dimes circulated heavily for decades. They were tossed into pockets, spent in stores, dropped into cash drawers, and exposed to endless wear. Finding a 1927S in uncirculated condition is a completely different experience. It means the coin escaped much of the damage that claimed countless others. Survival alone becomes part of the story. And then there are those black and brown spots. Most people see imperfections. Experienced collectors often see originality. Natural aging creates unique patterns across silver surfaces, and these patterns can become part of the coin's identity. Original toning matters. Original surfaces matter. Every spot, shade, and color variation can provide clues about the coin's history. This is why collectors become extremely cautious when evaluating old silver coins. One mistake destroys value faster than almost anything else: cleaning. Never clean the coin. A polished surface may look shiny to a beginner, but experienced collectors immediately recognize altered surfaces. Once original toning is removed, it can never truly be restored. That damage can follow the coin forever. Most people miss this, and some unknowingly erase thousands of dollars in potential value. Another factor that fuels demand is mint survival. Production at the San Francisco Mint was limited compared with many other Mercury Dime issues. Over the decades, surviving examples became increasingly difficult to locate, especially in exceptional condition. As supply decreased, collector interest intensified. Today, finding a strong, uncirculated example can trigger enormous excitement among specialists. Auction behavior surrounding these coins is fascinating. Bidding often starts quietly, almost cautiously. Then, serious collectors begin noticing the untouched surfaces, the sharp design details, the sought-after mint mark, and the originality of the toning. Suddenly, the atmosphere changes. Competition increases. Bidders who plan to stay conservative become aggressive. The coin transforms from a small silver dime into a prize everyone wants. The result is a market driven by scarcity and emotion. Demand continues rising while available examples become harder to acquire. Many collectors who own high-quality 1927S Mercury Dimes simply refuse to sell. They understand that opportunities to replace them may not come again for years. That scarcity creates pressure whenever one reaches the market. Today, examples connected with extraordinary collector demand have reached auction values around $369. That is serious money hidden inside a coin most people would overlook without a second glance. It is hidden wealth disguised as pocket change. It is a silent fortune that could easily be mistaken for an ordinary dime. If you discover a 1927S Mercury Dime, check the date carefully. Verify the S mint mark. Study the surfaces under proper lighting. Never clean it. Never assume dark toning means damage. And most importantly, seek professional grading, because professional grading is critical when determining authenticity, preservation, and market value. Patience creates wealth in this hobby, while rushed decisions often create regret. Do not spend this coin. What looks like an old silver dime could actually be a life-changing opportunity sitting unnoticed in a collection, drawer, or inherited box of coins. And believe it or not, the final coin on this countdown is even more shocking. Its rarity borders on unbelievable. Its collector demand is relentless, and the value attached to it has left even experienced collectors speechless. What comes next may be the most dangerous Mercury Dime to ignore of them all. Next up, most people would never stop to pick up a worn Mercury Dime lying on the ground. That's exactly why fortunes continue slipping through people's fingers. The 1944D Mercury Dime is one of those coins that hides its true identity behind age, dark color, and an ordinary appearance. With black and gray shades covering the surface and visible wear from decades of history, it looks like a coin nobody would want. But collectors know better. They understand that some of the greatest treasures in American coin collecting don't look valuable at all. They look forgotten. And that's what makes this coin so dangerous to ignore. The story begins in 1944, one of the most important years in modern American history. World War II was still raging across the globe. American factories were working around the clock. Military production dominated industry, and the nation was operating under extraordinary pressure. Coin production continued during this period because commerce never stopped. Every coin struck in 1944 became a small piece of a country focused on victory, sacrifice, and survival. That historical connection alone gives the 1944D Mercury Dime tremendous appeal. Collectors aren't just buying silver, they're buying a tangible link to one of the most significant periods in American history. This detail changes everything because emotional demand often becomes just as powerful as rarity itself. The obverse side features the famous portrait of Liberty wearing a winged cap. Many people incorrectly call the figure Mercury, but the design actually represents liberty and the freedom of thought that defines the American spirit. The inscriptions, "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the date 1944 surround the portrait. Even in very good condition, these features remain recognizable and continue attracting collectors who appreciate classic American coin artistry. Flip the coin over and you'll find the reverse design that helped make the Mercury Dime famous. At the center stands the fasces, symbolizing strength and unity, accompanied by an olive branch representing peace. Around the design appear the inscriptions United States of America, One Dime, and E Pluribus Unum. Near the lower left area sits the important D mint mark, showing the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. That tiny mint mark becomes an obsession for many collectors. Most people spend coins without ever checking mint marks. Collectors do the opposite. They search for them first. One small letter can completely change a coin's desirability and transform ordinary-looking pocket change into hidden wealth. The 1944D Mercury Dime was struck using an alloy composed of 90% silver and 10% copper. It weighs approximately 2.5 grams, measures 17.9 millimeters in diameter, has a thickness of about 1.35 millimeters, and a girth or circumference of roughly 56.2 millimeters. These specifications remained consistent throughout the Mercury Dime series and contributed to one of the most beloved designs in U.S. coin history. Now let's talk about those black and gray shades. Many people see dark coloration and assume something is wrong. Experienced collectors often react very differently. Natural aging can create unique patterns across silver surfaces over decades. Original toning tells a story. It reflects how a coin lived, where it was stored, and how it survived. In many cases, collectors prefer original surfaces over cleaned surfaces because authenticity matters far more than artificial shine. This is why one warning can never be repeated enough. Never clean the coin. Cleaning may seem harmless, but it permanently removes part of the coin's history. Once original toning is gone, it cannot truly be replaced. Some collectors immediately reject cleaned examples because they want coins that remain as close as possible to their natural state. Original toning matters. Original surfaces matter. Never forget that. Another fascinating part of the story is survival. Millions of Mercury Dimes entered circulation, but survival over 80 years is never guaranteed. Coins were lost, damaged, melted for silver, or worn beyond recognition. Every decade reduced the available population. The examples that remain today represent only a fraction of what once existed. Even more important is collector psychology. Serious collectors don't simply buy coins. They pursue them. They study tiny details, compare surfaces, evaluate mint marks, and compete for examples they believe complete their collections. A desirable Mercury Dime can trigger intense auction battles because everyone understands the same reality. Once a great coin enters a private collection, it may not reappear for years. Auction rooms often become surprisingly tense when attractive Mercury Dimes are offered. Bidding may begin calmly, but as collectors recognize originality, historical significance, and scarcity, the atmosphere changes. Offers rise. Competition grows. Suddenly, a coin many people would have ignored becomes the center of attention. This is why demand remains strong, while supply continues shrinking. More collectors are entering the hobby, yet fewer desirable examples remain available. Many long-term owners refuse to sell, believing their coins will become even harder to replace in the future. That combination creates a powerful market environment. Today, examples associated with exceptional collector demand have reached auction values approaching $357. That's serious money. That's a silent fortune hiding inside a small silver coin. That's hidden wealth many people would accidentally spend without a second thought. If you ever find a 1944D Mercury Dime, check the date first. Verify the Denver mint mark. Examine the surfaces carefully. Look for original color and natural aging. Do not spend this coin. Never clean the coin. Store it safely and seek professional grading because professional grading is critical for determining authenticity, condition, and potential market value. Most people miss opportunities like this because they assume treasure should look obvious. The truth is often the opposite. Some of the most valuable coins hide behind wear, darkness, and age. The patient collector who pays attention is usually the one who discovers the fortune everyone else overlooked. And there you have it, the final Mercury Dime on our countdown. From hidden silver treasures to astonishing auction results, these coins prove that life-changing value can still be hiding in plain sight. The next time you find an old dime, don't ignore it. You might be holding far more than pocket change. You might be holding a silent fortune.